Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Rainbow Six Siege overall, in my opinion, like what I think on the game, whether you should buy it in 2022 and whether it's worth the money that they're asking for it. But before we get into today's video, I just want to say, according to YouTube, only 1% of you guys are subscribed. So if you'd like to help out the channel a lot, go down below, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe later if you don't enjoy the content I make on this channel. I make gaming and better Discord related content every Monday and Friday. Okay, but if you guys have never seen gameplay or never heard of what Rainbow Six is in 2022, I'll be quite surprised. But just for you guys who already know what this is, I'll have timestamps down below so you guys can skip ahead and not have to watch the explanation as to what Siege is, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it for anyone who doesn't know. Basically, what Rainbow Six is it's a game where there's two sides, attackers and defenders. The attackers have to get into the building and capture the objective, which there's 3 different types of objectives, which I'll go over later. And the defender's goal is to defend the objective from the attackers, but they don't have to capture the objective. Another way to win is just by eliminating the entirety of the enemy team, because there is no respawns in Rainbow Six. There's 3 different types of game modes in Rainbow Six. There's Bomb, which is the one that they play in competitive and in Pro League. It's very similar to something like Counter-Strike or maybe Search and Destroy from Call of Duty. Basically, there's 2 bombs in 2 different rooms. The defender's goal is to protect the bomb and stop the attackers from defusing. The attacker's goal is to get into the building and plant the diffuser on the bomb and let the time run out. Now, the defenders can either destroy the diffuser when the attackers plant it, or they can kill everyone to end the round instantly and win if the bomb gets planted. Then secure area is a mode where basically there is a biohazard container inside of a room inside the building. The defenders have to try to stop attackers from entering the room. The attacker's goal is to kill everyone inside the room with the biohazard container and wait for the timer to run out so they can capture it. Basically, it's kind of like a domination zone from other games, but in Rainbow Six. Then the last mode is Hostage. This is by far the worst mode in my opinion. Hostage is pretty self-explanatory. The defender's goal is to protect the hostage, and the attacker's goal is to get into the building and extract the hostage from the building and get them to a rally point. This mode is by far the worst mode in the game, in my opinion. Very few people play this mode, and it's kind of dead. That is all the modes in Rainbow Six, aside from the event game modes. They do event game modes every once in a while, which I'll get into later on in the video. Those are the 3 core game modes of Rainbow Six Siege. Now, before you start a round of Rainbow Six, everyone gets to choose an operator. As of right now, there is currently 62 operators in the game, excluding recruit, and every single person gets to play a unique operator, and there can't be multiple of the same operator in a game. And every operator has their own unique gadget that'll help you do different things in the game, and they also have their own unique weapons. There's exceptions to this. Some operators share weapons, but for the most part, every operator has their own unique weapons. They also have these thing called secondary gadgets, which is a gadget that isn't your main gadget, but it's another gadget on top of that. Like, for example, barbed wire, impact grenades. On attack, there'd be things like frag grenades, smoke grenades, flashbangs. Those are all considered to be like secondary gadgets. And each operator has their own set of secondary gadgets. You can't have access to all the secondary gadgets in the game on your operator. You only get 2, and you get to choose between which one you want to bring. There's multiple different types of players and operators in the game. There is support players, there is fragging players, and then there is flex players. Now, what this is kind of an advanced competitive concept, but a support player, their goal is to support the team in some way. For example, they might bring Thermite, which is an operator that allows you to place a breaching charge on reinforced walls and breach reinforced walls. They might bring a Thermite or a Thatcher. A Thatcher, what they do is Thatcher's ability is to throw an EMP that will destroy or disable enemy gadgets. Then a Fragger, their goal is to just get kills for their team. So they might bring an operator like Ash or Zofia, which their gadgets are for breaching soft walls or breaching barbed wire, deployable shields, things that would get in their way of being able to get kills. And their guns are normally really, really strong. Then there is flex players, which flex players kind of play whatever the team needs. Like, for example, let's say you're planning on smoke planting and you want a Capitao, because what Capitao's ability is he can shoot arrows into the site that allow him to either light an area on fire to stop the defenders from pushing through, or to smoke off an area so that way it blocks line of sight from the defenders. Or a flex player might bring like a buck or a sledge because you need someone to play vertical and you want them to open up vertical holes, because in Rainbow Six almost every floor and wall is destructible. So bringing someone like a sledge or a buck is almost always a good idea, just in case if they go a downstairs site so you can play vertically. Okay, well, that's going to sum up my explanation of Rainbow Six. Now I'm going to start going into like my in-depth review of Siege. A lot of this might go over some people's heads because if you've never played the game before, you probably won't understand what I'm talking about, but I'll try to dumb it down as much as I can so you guys can understand it. And at the end, I'll give you guys my own personal opinion on whether or not the game is worth buying. The very first thing I want to go over is operators. Since we're already on the topic of operators, I figured I'd just go ahead and start talking about the operators. In my opinion, the game is starting to get really watered down when it comes to operators. A lot of operators are starting to become similar or really close to the same as other operators. And recently, we've been getting a lot of operators that are coming out that just don't really do much to the game, in the sense of like, you know, back in the older days of Siege, normally an operator would come out and the entire game would change because that one operator exists. Let me give an example. Back when Mira came out, Mira completely changed the meta of the game, and Mira completely blew every other operator out of the water on defense. Her ability, which is still the same today, is she can place 2 bulletproof mirror windows that basically on the outside of the mirror window, you can't see through it, but the defenders can see through it. This can be really useful for gathering intel on the outside of a wall, or you can even place it on a wall and then use it to peek attackers that are trying to push you. Mira has basically become one of the strongest operators in the game, and she's been one of the strongest operators in the game since she's released. She completely changed the meta. Another example of this is someone like Valkyrie. Valkyrie came out before Mira, and when she came out, she completely changed the meta because it gave her the ability to throw her own cameras out onto the map and allowed defenders to gather intel on areas that they normally wouldn't, because there's normally only a certain amount of default cameras on the map and they always spawn in the same spot, so attackers a lot of times would shoot them. Valkyrie allows you to hide cameras in areas on the map where attackers wouldn't think to look, and then you could capitalize on that intel and potentially get free kills, or even just knowing where the attackers are going to push. But recently we've gotten operators like Thorn, which all Thorn does is she throws this gadget out onto a wall, a floor, a doorway, doesn't really matter. And if you walk in front of this gadget, it'll start ticking. And if you don't run out of the area of the gadget, it'll blow up. Thorn has basically had no effect on the meta at all. The only reason why people enjoy her is because of her gun. Everything else about Thorn has been pretty mediocre at best. On the attacking side, we've been getting operators like Osa, which Osa hasn't changed the meta at all. She's barely affected anything at all when it comes to the game. And in my opinion, Osa is one of the weaker and more boring operators that we've gotten recently. Her ability is she can place down glass windows, which you can see through and the attackers can see through, and you can place them down on the ground or on a window. And you can also break through barricades with them. She also has Thermite's assault rifle and Jackal's SMG, which are solid weapons, but they're not new weapons, which I'll get into later. I'll go on a whole rant about that later. But Osa, she really hasn't brought much to the table when it comes to the game because she hasn't really changed the meta that much because of the fact that she's so easily countered that it's basically neutered her as an operator. And in my opinion, there's a lot of operators that have the same problem that Osa and Thorn have. They're just releasing, it feels like there's no character to them, and they barely bring anything to the table that's new and exciting. In my opinion, we've been getting a lot of mediocre seasons recently as well. What a Siege season is we get one operator and one map. Most of the time it's a rework, but sometimes we get a new map. And we'll also get a new battle pass. Now, the reason why I hate this model is because what we used to get was a new map. It was always a new map, never a rework. They didn't do reworks. A new map, 2 new operators, which all had new guns, by the way. They never had recycled weapons. And then on top of that, we'd get reworks to operators and little bug fixes and things like that, which for a season was a lot of content. Now we're getting a new operator that doesn't have new guns most of the time. And we're getting a reworked map. We're not getting a new map. There's a difference between a rework and a new map. Reworked maps most of the time are not nearly as fun in my opinion and don't bring nearly as much content as something like a new map can bring. We haven't gotten a new map in a really long time and it's very disappointing. Every operation recently has been really lackluster in my opinion and haven't really brought much to the table when it comes to content. The battle pass is really like, the battle pass doesn't matter to me content wise because the battle pass is just skins. Yes, I buy the battle passes, but it doesn't matter to me content wise because the battle pass isn't, in my opinion, a justification for losing that extra operator, new guns on the operators, and then on top of that, losing new maps. So in my opinion, the content updates that we've been getting recently are very lackluster. Not to mention, in these operations, they've been doing a lot of reworks and operator changes that I do not agree with. Like, for example, removing Sledge SMG-11, nerfing Zophia's assault rifle recoil. They've done a bunch of changes recently that, in my opinion, balancing-wise, don't make any sense. And, in my opinion, makes it seem like Ubisoft aren't listening. They also changed the P10 Roni on Maze. Now, this gun, in my opinion, did not need to be touched. I don't understand why they touched it. But a lot of pro players were complaining about it having 1.5 and thought that the 1.5 should get removed. But instead, Ubisoft nerfed its ammo. And now it only has 15 bullets in a magazine. Do you know how atrocious that is? 15 bullets in a magazine? Things like that just don't make sense to me. Ubisoft recently has just, in my opinion, been so out of the loop of what the community actually wants. And it's a huge problem with Siege, in my opinion. Now, next up, I'm going to talk about cheaters. This has been a huge problem recently. Cheaters, in my opinion, especially this season, I don't know what it is about this season, but they have skyrocketed when it comes to like cheaters. Me and my friends have literally ran into 5 cheaters within about, I want to say, 40 hours of playing the game this season. We've all run into a cheater, if not 2, which is, in my opinion, absolutely atrocious. And not to mention the cheaters are getting way more blatant. They're not even trying to hide the fact that they're cheating. They're just spin botting around the map, which I'll play clips now of a game me and my friends got in replay mode. Clash spin botting around and shooting people through her shield, things like that. I don't know how someone doesn't get banned instantly for it. I think Ubisoft really needs to invest in a nice anti-cheat or something other than BattleEye because it's just not doing the job right now. And I'm very disappointed in that. What I will give them is that they have been doing really good bugs wise. I haven't really noticed nearly as many like game breaking bugs recently other than sound. Sound has been a problem in Siege since basically the dawn of its existence. Sound has been pretty terrible throughout the entire time Siege has been a thing, and they've tried their best to fix it, but it always ends up just getting worse. Recently, there's been a huge problem, in my opinion, at least from my, I want to say 300, 400 hours I played within the past couple seasons. The past couple seasons have been way worse than before, in my opinion, for audio. There's been a lot of times where I'll hear someone downstairs and they're really on the same level as me, or I'll hear someone upstairs and they're actually below me, and I'll hear someone down the hallway on my right, but they're really on my left. There's so many problems with Siege audio that just doesn't make sense. And it's very weird because it's never reversed all the time. It's not like the audio is just so bad that it's always reversed. It's almost like the sound is bouncing so much that it's coming from the opposite side that it's supposed to be coming from. I don't know how to explain it. If you guys have ever experienced it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But sound in this game is just absolutely atrocious. What I will give Siege, though, in my opinion, there's no other game like Siege when it comes to the core gameplay. The core gameplay of Siege is amazing. I love Siege. Siege, in my opinion, is one of my favorite games of all time, even though all these things are happening to it that I'm very sad about. Siege is still one of my favorite games of all time. I've put over 1,600 hours, almost 1,700 hours into the game, which I've done with no other game in my entire life. And in my opinion, Rainbow Six is a really fun game, especially to play with your friends. Yes, there are a lot of problems with the game, and in my opinion, yes, they're big issues, but if you're coming to the game brand new, I still think the game is very much worth the price that they're asking. On sale, the game is like $7 for the year 1 and year 2 operators to come with it, which in my opinion is a great deal. $7 or $8 for the, like, I think it's the deluxe or maybe gold edition of Siege. I think it's deluxe, but I can't remember what it's called. And it comes with the year 1 and the year 2 operators. That is a great deal. If I was you guys and you guys want to buy Siege, just wait for a Steam sale, pick it up for like $8, try it out. If you don't like it, you can always refund it, as long as you don't play more than 2 hours of it. And that, in my opinion, would be the best test to whether you like Siege. If you like other games like Siege, other FPS games, like if you like games like Valorant, in my opinion, or Counter-Strike or things like that, you might like Siege a lot. If you're not really into the whole like FPS genre and you only dabble in FPSs a little, you might not like Siege, because Siege is very unforgiving for new players. There's a lot to learn with Siege, and if you don't commit the time and the hours to actually learning the game, you're going to be very disappointed. But long story short, I would say if you guys are interested in this game, wait until a Steam sale. Pick it up for like $8, get the year 1, year 2 ops, because they're really fun ops to play. It'll give you some operators to play with off the start and some DLC ops, and just try the game. And if you don't like it, you know, as long as you refund it within the 2 hours time period, you'll be fine. And yeah, in my opinion, I think you guys will really, really enjoy the game if you could just give it a try. There is other problems with the game, I will admit, but I'm hoping that they may fix some of these issues here in the future. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to watch some of my older Siege videos or some of my other Siege videos that I've done in the past, go to the playlist in the top right. I'll link my montage videos in the top right. I also made funny moments a long time ago as well. If you guys want to go back and look at that as well, it's on my homepage on my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.
You see here, kid, you gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before.